Question number 6, Maureen Pugh.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Economic Development and asks, what recent announcements has the government made about economic development on the West Coast?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, yesterday, alongside Ministers Adams, Bridges and Flavel, and of course the local member herself, I released the Taipatini West Coast Regional Growth Study, a detailed report on the economy of the West Coast that outlines significant potential to attract new investment and diversify the economy of the region. After a strong economic run, the West Coast has been affected by global economic headwinds that have dropped international prices for minerals and milk powder, although they have started to recover more recently. The West Coast Regional Growth Program is a unique opportunity for local community and business leaders to work alongside central government and commit to an action plan to grow the region through new investment and new industries.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Maureen Pugh.
What economic opportunities for the West Coast does the report identify?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, the report names a number of areas of strength for the West Coast and a range of new opportunities. Of course, tourism is one important industry on the coast with huge untapped further potential based on the stunning scenery and cultural history. In the primary sector, while dairy is likely to remain an important part of the economy, the coast is home to a number of food and beverage entrepreneurs exporting high-quality products like cranberries, blueberries, honey, meat and vegetables and power cookies. The report outlines that minerals industry in the coast will remain important, but industries like aquaculture and ICT will also provide opportunities. Due to its distance from markets, high-quality infrastructure is critical to encourage the growth of the coast, and this government will continue to invest in this area.
Supplementary question, Maureen Pugh.
Thank you. Where have you been? What investment is the government making to encourage economic...
Order. I'm having trouble hearing the answer. I want less interjection, and it's coming from right across the House. Maureen Pugh, supplementary.
What investment is the government making to encourage economic growth on the West Coast?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, a couple of months ago I was pleased to announce that Greymouth had become New Zealand's 12th fully fibred town under the government's ultra-fast broadband program. In addition, 4 West Coast towns, Hokitika, Reefton, Runanga and Westport, are on the candidate list for the next stage of UFB. We're investing more in other critical infrastructure, including the Taramakau Road Bridge duplication near Greymouth and the Minga Bluff Rough Creek realignment near Arthur's Pass. There's new tourism development, the old Ghost Ride Cycleway, involving a $3 million government investment, and our $10 million commitment to create New Zealand's 10th Great Walk between Blackball and Punakaiki to commemorate the Pike 29. Mr Speaker, this government is working hard with the West Coast despite the derision of the House.
I thank the Minister.
Supplementary
question, the Honourable Damien.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, will this study compensate for the 5% annual reduction in GDP and the hundreds of jobs lost on the West Coast after 8 years of a national government?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, I note for the member that actually employment on the coast has grown in the last year, that actually the issues of the dairy industry and the minerals industry has caused issues. But I also note the member too was present at the launch yesterday and was very proudly displaying his copy of the report after the launch was released. Thank you very much, Damien, for showing your support.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker.
Order.
Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary.
The Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Having taken the time to read the report, how comprehensive is the study when it states on page 65, quote, no specific opportunities have been identified for the dairy sector, given this is the second largest and growing industry in our region? What can we believe?
Well, Mr Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Order. I'm vitally interested in the answer, so I do want to hear it. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, perhaps the report writers have been listening to Grant Robertson that we shouldn't have anything to do with the dairy industry, but the point that they were actually making was that the dairy industry is a mature industry on the coast. It will continue to be important, but the new industries will be adding in alongside the dairy industry that this government is very keen to support.
Point of order, the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave to table this report that states on page 65 there are no specific...
Order, the report is freely available. Members can have a look at it.
Supplementary, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee.
To the Minister, what role do iwi play in encouraging economic development in the regions?
Oh, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
A very important role, including, for example, yesterday on the West Coast, where Ngāi Tahu were making the point they're investing tens of millions of dollars in businesses and new industries that employ thousands of New Zealanders, including on the coast. Iwi's role in regional development is one of the key reasons why this government is keen to progress treaty settlements as quickly as we can, and that's why it's so disappointing from a regional development...
Order. We don't need any more of the answer. Order. 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 Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, you could see where that minister was going, rather cack-handedly, but very obvious, and he should be stopped in his tracks.
Order. Order. And if the member had observed, I gave the member the minister a time before I could observe where he was going. When I saw where he was going, I quickly brought the answer to a conclusion. It's my pleasure, Mr. Peters. Question number 8.